general business, and it is with great pleasure that I recognize our county manager, Mike James.
Well, thank you. Told some people earlier, the acting county manager for the last few months did a good job, kept everything in good shape here. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I've enjoyed my 2.5, 3 weeks so far. I've informed the board. One of the things I wanted to focus on the first few weeks is visiting some of our large employers. Get to know them, make sure that we have a great manufacturing base here for the size county that we are. Great manufacturing base, and it's diverse. It's not all in the same supply chain, which is nice. Several of the companies are or were locally owned, locally started, which is really nice. I have visited several companies so far that represent about 15% of our workforce, about $18 million of annual payroll, everything from Parkdale and Bottomley to the hospital, and some other smaller companies as well. So very pleased with the manufacturing base that we have here. Several of the companies have just expanded within the last year, which is nice. NAPCO's invested in some new machinery. Pioneer Eclipse has added 30 or 40 people in the last year. Bottomley just builds and builds and builds. Mr. Smith and I took a great tour to Bottomley there last week. They're just about at full production right now. They said probably this week and next week's when they really get ramped up for Christmas. So that's quite an enterprise out there. Bottomley Enterprises is the right name for it. It's quite an enterprise out there. So just want to encourage any of our local businesses to contact me in any way that we can assist them. We want to be happy. We're happy to do that. On a related note, we'd like to start next meeting recognizing one of our businesses every month. We're going to call it the Spotlight Business. So we're going to have 5 minutes or 5 to 7 minutes for a local business to, basically tell us what they do, how many employees they have, and it's, one month we'll have a one-man shop, and the next month we'll have somebody with 50 or 75 or 100 employees maybe. Program I've done it at previous places, and it's gone well. A little free publicity for those companies out there. It might be a restaurant one month, and it might be agricultural business the next month. It might be an auto repair place the next month. You just whoever's interested. So any company that's interested in becoming our Spotlight Business should contact me or Lauren at the office to let us know. There's no charge for that. So we want to just recognize our local businesses. Nationwide, it's estimated about 30% of the U.S. workforce now is self-employed, whether it is as their main job or as a second job. And that's only going to continue to increase over the next 10 or 20 or 30 years as the workforce changes. There's a huge swell of baby boomers now that are, approaching retirement age, if not just past retirement age. And the whole workforce is changing with telecommuting, work at home. We can certainly take advantage of that here with the great fiber optic internet that we have in homes. Southwest Virginia, we had a big program several years ago to run the fiber along the highway, but we couldn't get it out to people's homes. Those of you who don't know, my wife is a programmer, and she works out of our house, and she never stopped reminding me that I was working for the county government, couldn't get the fiber optic internet at our house. So that's certainly an opportunity that we have here. That's great. So I want to thank everybody for helping with my transition, particularly Lauren, Karen, and April, who were here earlier today, the board members. We appreciate everybody's help with that. Had a chance to meet several citizens, had a few folks come in with issues, concerns, complaints, everything from stolen street signs to animals being euthanized to property tax to everything else I had to deal with already. So I enjoy that. I encourage any citizen to contact me anytime. Contact Lauren, make an appointment. I'd mentioned I do want to start having some regular office hours, kind of like a college professor would have. So another month or so we'll start that so we get a little better idea of when all these I'm getting thrown on all these committees. When all these committees meet, we'll get a regular schedule for all that, so we'll arrange a time for that to be going forward. So appreciate that. Unfortunately, it's not all wildflowers and butterflies tonight, so we do have a couple, one issue we need to address, and that is, some of you may have seen this letter regarding the tennis player from Ashe County that had an injury at our tennis court here back in the fall. I don't know if you all seen a copy. Some of you have seen it, probably some of you haven't. I have a copy of it here. Don't need any action on this right now if you want to take a look at that, but the young lady's mother had written us and complained about the condition of the courts, and there are some, around the perimeter of the court, there's some drop off and some areas that need to be leveled out, smoother, some repairs that need to be made. If you want, there's a copy for everybody, Karen, if you want to pass those down there, please. So, don't have any action right this second on that, but just something to be aware. It may be nothing more than just a letter of complaint. But there had, but we don't know anything more might develop from that, so just want to make you aware of that. And on a related note to the tennis courts, I met with the school superintendent a couple of days ago, and I know that there's a weird boundary line issue there. Basically, the boundary line for the school property and the county property kind of goes through the tennis courts and kind of goes through the ball field. And either formally or informally in the past, there have been some discussions about doing a property swap there, and the school taking ownership of all of the tennis courts and maybe the county taking ownership of all of the ball field, if I'm correct on that. So something we may want to explore. I know you once upon a time had started researching that. I don't know if that's anything that's been on, it probably hasn't been at the top of your priority list, but just research that deed and what would be required. We had the same thing in Lee County, the county and the IDA. We had the property line right through one of the corner of our industrial buildings, and we had to do a property swap there, and so we could get all of our building and gave the county some of the creek there as an exchange. So yeah, it's probably not an urgent pressing matter on the boundary line issue, but it'd be good. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the, have fractional ownership of both of those units right now. The school system's willing to take ownership of the tennis courts till it comes time to fix them, right? Then they'll be back to us probably. But that's something we should look at going forward there. So,
who owns the tennis court?
well, my understanding of the property, we own part of it, county owns part of it, and the school system owns part of it, is my understanding.
Recreation, the line goes right through the middle.
Does Lions Club own any part of it?
No, it's either Alleghany Education or Recreation. And
Just those two, not the Lions Club.
not the tennis courts or Davis Field. No, to answer your question, but the line's odd, and then the line that goes through the Davis Field is a little bit odd between the educational system, I think, and recreation. And you just have to see it. It goes right down the middle of the last court down at the bottom. And Mr. Beasley, you're right, he has mentioned that, and I think the issue was just to make sure that there wasn't any conflict with the part of people or on the deed or any restrictions there. Don, it's my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know how it was here, a lot of areas, some family several generations ago deeds property to the county only to be used as a school, and then if it ceases to be used as a school, it reverts back. So we had that same issue in Lee County with one of our schools that that had been closed, and we wound up having to track down heirs, from 8 generations back. So
This may be simple enough, I'm not sure. But I do know that the school I know probably uses those courts more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Figure 2 tennis teams and physical education classes, and first one thing and the other. I think the recreation does have a program in the winter, or summertime rather, excuse me.
Yeah, so do some research, and we'll figure out if it's, if there's work and a lot of expense to do it, there's no pressing need to do it. But if it's something we can do easily, it would make sense to pursue that going forward.
But I did go the other day after I talked to you
Mhm.
about it. I did go up there and look at them. They need to look work.
Yeah.
Especially around the edge.
Yeah, we don't, there's not, from the end line to the fence is not much room anyway, and then there's a kind of a gap between the edge of the court and the fence there, just enough to roll an ankle. So I think this young lady had fractured her ankle.
I see at one place, it wouldn't be hard to break ankle. We'll have to seal some cracks in it when they date too.
Mhm.
You know, the whole thing will come up after it freezes, water gets in it.
Yeah, budgets are tight, we want to make wise use of our resources. That's another way that a lot of folks, the only trip they make over here is seeing their son or daughter play tennis on our tennis courts, and we want to certainly make a good impression on those visitors as well.
Absolutely.
And finally, number one there, I skipped that accidentally. We do have a reappointment to the library board. You have a letter there from Ms. Polly, the chairman of the library board, to reappoint Alice, I guess that's Keaton?
Keaton, yes. Any discussion on the library board appointment? If not, is there a motion to reappoint Alice Keaton to the library board?
I mean,
A motion,
Second.
and the second, all in favor, aye?
Aye. Mr. Smith, we might note that this is her third term on the
It
library.
absolutely is.
And great appreciation for her.
Yeah, I don't know what we'd do without Alice. She's active with the Friends of the Library, and she's been a good board member for sure.
Certainly would hate to lose a valuable board member as we get ready to move into the new location. And
That's right.
the project is going along very well, seems to be.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mr. James, and again, welcome to you,
Thank
sir. We're awfully glad you're here. We are to F, public comments.